Well, I did tell you that this is the Ember month. It's very, very imminent. Today is 30, tomorrow 31st. Tomorrow is going to be the last day of August 2017. And of course, the day after tomorrow is going to be the first day of September 2017. And the month of September, it's very, very important to us here. Talking about the family of independent television and radio. In the first place, it is the month where we have the birthday of our CMD, one man that I hardly find words to describe him. But when I'm confused, I can say he's an enigma. He's more than an enigma. Talking about Chief Gabriel Osawa Ogunedi, or the Sama of Benin Kingdom. You know that the month of September is when he celebrates his birthday. So it's going to come up again this year. And it's going to be something that I'm going to be part of it. And I so thank God that I was part of it last year. I'm going to be part of it this year. And of course, so many, many years to come by the special grace of God. But away from that now, the month of September in Nigeria is perhaps the month where people, most especially travelers, transporters, and the Federal Road Safety Corps, they have more job to do. Is that part of the year where you have they bring out more men, they bring out more vehicles, more walking items, walking tools, if you like, so as to do their job proper. Just yesterday, it was on the news that about 33,000, personnel have been dispatched for the Ida Kabir, which is going to come up about a day from now. So it is not the Ember month, now, but I do know that that is also a kind of a preparation for the Ember month. Well, to talk about all this today on the program this morning on ITV, we are privileged to have Mr. Festus Agmonifo, who is one of our major transporters in Benin here. So welcome to this morning on ITV.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and also we're also privileged to have Mr. Abraham Egbera, is the Public Relations Officer Unit of Public Relations Officer Oluku Oluku Tollgate Unit of the Frsc. So welcome to this program this morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, perhaps I'll just start with you, Mr. Abraham Egbera.
All right.
Yes, so the Ember month is very close again. I remember it was this time of the year that we had you, and of course you told us a whole lot that we have to know about the Ember month. So is there any difference between this year's preparation and last year's preparation? Let's start from there.
All right, thank you very much. And there are no more differences, but there is a great level of improvement. It has to do with strategies and best practices. Ember month, like you rightly pointed, is very close to us. And the message is safety, safety all the way.
Yeah.
And then we are prepared, and we are looking forward to embracing it. The way we handled it and the way we've been handling it still remain the same way. Like I said, those strategies have been put in place to ensure that the road is safe for road users. So we are prepared, and there are no more differences. Thank you very much.
Now, about 33,000 personnel have been dispatched nationwide for the Ida Kabir, festivity. So let's talk about Edo State. What is the preparation on ground?
In Edo State, we are much more prepared. All the commands in Edo State are well briefed to personnel. And also, when we talk about the 33,000 personnel, it includes the special marshals and the regular marshals. And the sector commander has adequately briefed the personnel under his direct supervision, all the special marshals and the regular marshals. And the emphasis is on accident-prone areas.
Yeah.
You'll agree with me that there are corridors that accidents are prone to, not within the town express, where most of these crashes we record are obvious. So we have been briefed, and accident-prone areas have been identified, and strategies have been put in place to ensure that we reduce crashes to barest money.
Okay, just before we come to Mr. Festus Agmonifo, who is a partner in your business. Now, recently we heard whereby somewhere in Abuja now, where to say that somebody requested that the FRSC members should not be seen on local routes, on roads within Abuja metropole, that they should go to highway. Now, what do you think may have prompted that?
I cannot tell you specifically, but I don't think that is a very good idea, because you will agree with me that crashes can occur both in local roads and federal roads. And then if a crash occur on local roads, like you said, that we've been asked to part way within Abuja, and then there are no people to rescue these persons. The same people who have said we should leave such road will also put up a call that people are lying down as a result of crash, and federal safety personnel are not there. So the idea of telling us to leave the road for them entirely, I don't think is a welcome development. Federal safety personnel should be seen in all roads as long as motorists ply the road.
Okay, now Mr. Festus Agboninfo, today, tomorrow is going to be quite heavy for you in terms of business, because a lot of people may likely travel from afar to come and celebrate the Ida Kibir with their relatives, you know, family members and all that. So what is the safety measurements? Perhaps you might just be speaking for your fellow transporters for the purpose of this discourse.
Actually, the most important persons in transport business are the drivers. If I will use this media to talk to all drivers of various companies in Edo State, if a transport company need to survive or need to move forward, is the drivers. There's no amount of orientation you give to drivers that they will actually, at the moment you are talking to them, they will take your words. When they enter the highway, they are doing something different. You can look at the incident that happened last week on Pasababa Aziz in the Bobaka area. You see, we need to really educate these drivers that when you are patient, it's impatient that is causing all those crashes on our highways. Most of the drivers are not patient. And there's no way the company can run to Lagos and come back that same day. But to someone that is doing it, we are putting that driver on a high pressure. Especially most of our transporters owners who are not traveling through the road, that Lagos road or Abuja road. There is no way a driver will leave Benin today and go through that Abuja Azi and come back that same day. If you are trying to do that, that means that you are trying to overpower that driver.
But it's been alleged at times that some of you, the owners of these transport companies, that you reward drivers that can make Abuja routes maybe 3 times.
It's not possible.
Actually, it's big money for you.
Exactly, but there's no way this time that the road is so bad, especially that Ekpoma Azi, that a driver can even run going and tow. It's not going to be possible. But in Lagos, probably it might be possible in Lagos route. Probably, maybe if the driver leaves Benin maybe like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. If there are passengers in Lagos, you can make it to come back. But Abuja,
so you actually reward drivers that can do 3 trips.
To some, I am not encouraging it, and I will not encourage it. 1, you are killing that vehicle. 2, you putting the life of the passengers at risk. And even some passengers, I want to also use this media to advise some passengers who are always in hurry. Most of this accident that is happening it's not 100% the fault of the driver. Most of the accident that happens, with my experience, there are some passengers that are very, very impatient. They are very, very in a hurry. Instead of them to take flight, they are using a public transport and telling the driver, don't worry, if I get to Benin, I will dash your money. Don't worry, just make it fast. I have to catch up appointment in Benin, or I have to catch up appointment in Lagos. You know, these drivers, when they heard about maybe additional 500, additional 1,000, the driver would just be tensed up to say, oh, let me sacrifice this customer and do overspeeding. I tell you, overspeeding in Nigeria road, there is no way it can lead you to. Overspeeding always leads to destruction. We can only prevent it when it does not come. But when it comes, I mean, the company himself will lose also, because I have some cases in court whereby your driver will had an accident and those inside the vehicle will take you to court. And when they take you to court, who is losing? Is the company, even when you are winning the case at the court. But the time you are going to court, giving lawyer money to fight that case, you are the one losing. You are the one losing your time and your money. So it is best bet not to even for a company not to even get accident. As for me, what I tell my drivers, give me one way. I prefer one way, because when you give me one way,
what do you mean by one way now?
Yeah, just drive to Lagos. Tomorrow morning, load back to Benin or load back to Auchi.
Even when you have a lot of passengers,
it's better.
I mean, looking at you maximize profits.
Yes. Yeah, I'm telling you now, it's better. I'm also using this media to advise our co-transporters. If most of us will fly by air, we don't go through the land. I normally drive myself and I go through the land. The areas that are good on Lagos Highway is from here to Ore and a little bit after Ore. All the axis of Jebode is no good area. By the time you are sending your boss to do that two-way, in the other way you are gaining it. In the other way you are also losing out, because you are winning up the vehicles.
Okay. Now, Mr. Abraham, the issue of speed limits, I don't know whether to say it died naturally. I don't know, because I remember it was about this time last year when we heard so much about it, you know. Excuse me. Now, what is happening? Is it that it is only the period where you have more transporters and more travelers traveling that you just come out with one policy or the other?
I would not agree with you when you said the issue of speed limiting has died down completely. It hasn't. We had a very robust public enlightenment when the policy was formulated, and towards the period of implementation at the early stage, the noise was much, and the level of public enlightenment was high. But as it is now, we are on the full implementation. When you are on the road, you will agree with me, if you are a motorist, if you are a road user, especially those who are into fleet operation, we are always concerned about the speed limit device, because it is one of the critical offenses. So on daily basis, when we are on patrol, the emphasis is always on speed limit device. And I will tell you categorically here, without mixing words, that so many road users, especially fleet operators, have embraced this policy. And if you watch us, our feedback, you will agree with me that the record of the record on the level of compliance is high. So many people have embraced it. Just recently, while we were on patrol, we stopped like 3 vehicles, and the passengers were telling us that the speed limiting device, a policy that has come to stay in federal safety, is one of the best policies that they have come up with, because they have discovered that most of the crashes that occur as a result of excessive speed has been reduced. And they have also noticed that drivers who are always in a hurry to hit a particular route to and fro like 2 times on daily basis, they have also been discouraged, because if a driver who plies Lagos Benin Road and runs 140-160 kilometers per hour, and then discover all of a sudden that the owner of the company he works for has embraced the speed limit device as a policy and has installed it, and he tries to move on the high speed and discover that the device will always pull him down, and then he runs 90 kilometers per hour, he has no objection than to maintain the regulated speed limit device. So we have not relented, we have not kept quiet. It is enforcement. We are on the stage of full enforcement. The time you heard us making so much noise about it was the time of policy formulation and public enlightenment. That was when we were making heavy noise. But as it is now, we are on full implementation. Our noise, we make the noise on the road with our drivers who have refused to comply. So on daily basis, while we're on patrol, we book those who refuse to comply. And I will bet you so many persons. Yes.
Okay.
When we stop your vehicle, we ask you if you have installed the speed limit device. And if you tell us yes, we have a way of checking. We'll key into our website and check your registration online. And then if we see you have, install it, we'll let you go. But if you have not installed it, we'll just impound your vehicle or confiscate your driver license.
All right,
so it's on. It has not stopped.
All right, Mr. Festus, I'm going to for you. You just want to, you want to shed light on what you just said.
We've been on this matter for so many times, and my takes about the speed limit is that, I keep saying it. We are much travelers. I can always say that I travel much outside this country, and what I keep standing on what I'm standing on. It is the federal government of each other country that installed speed limit on their highways. We are not going to go back to argument now. We're just trying to say we'll be victims to the speed limit. Some of my drivers are victims. Some of them I installed. Some of them, it's also not quite also easy for a taxpayer to be doing what the government are supposed to be doing, and it's broke our heart because these are liability of the federal government or the state government. And let me say the federal government because it's the federal road we are applying, not the state road. So therefore, I will still urge the federal government if they want. It's a very good mix of discouraging drivers from driving very fast.
Yeah, but Mr. Festus, don't you think that because you are trying to compare Nigeria with some of the countries you've traveled to? Yeah. Now, Nigeria is it's different from those countries now. So don't you think that the Nigerian government might just be introducing this based on the peculiarity that we have on ground?
Okay, you take a look of Ethiopia. A friend of mine would travel to Ethiopia. He normally fly Ethiopian line to Europe. Then I gave him a free ticket and holiday to have a trip in Ethiopia. He called me from Ethiopia a few days ago and he said, Ethiopia, exactly what you have in Europe is what is installed in Ethiopia. Ethiopia only believe in their airline to have a way of getting a revenue to the federal government. And as we speak, Ethiopia has a speed limit devices like the Germans have it on the highway. It took some
on their major roads.
On their major road. And I was trying to argue with him. He has to snap on the highway, whereby he showed me. I was shocked. We should try and be encouraging our federal government. We should emulate things that are good and bring them to Nigeria. Because how is the country developing? When other countries are moving forward, we are still saying behind. We are saying we are Nigerians, we are Africa. Ethiopia is Africa. Ethiopia does not have any natural resources apart from the airline they have. You look at Zimbabwe. These are countries that believe in farming. They don't have all those the oil resources we have, and they have all these things on their highway. We're not even talking about Europe now. We're not talking about America. I'm making emphasis with countries that are in Africa. Let me not just go to South Africa. To those of our young, intimate youths who travel to South Africa now, they know what they are seeing there. Therefore, our federal government have to do what they are supposed to do. It is not the responsibility, I keep saying it, it's not the responsibility of each citizen to install speed limit devices on their vehicle or on the highway. Federal government will install those things, and the road safety will be very close to to where those things are installed. When your vehicle is being snapped or is being taken, they don't run after you. At the end of the month, they bring the bill to the company. Yeah. They bring the bill to the company. Yeah. When the companies are not ready to pay the bills, the federal government can take them to court.
All right. Now, for the viewers that are just joining us, the program is this morning on ITV, and we are looking at the Frsc and the Ember month. In Nigeria, the Ember month is that part of the year where a lot of people are concerned in terms of safety on our high roads. And when we talk about the Frsc, we cannot exonerate transportation users, all apparatus that have to do with transportation. We cannot exonerate them from that. So that's why we have Mr. Festus Abonifo here with us this morning, major transporter in Benin City. Now, Mr. Festus, I remember when some transport companies started in Benin, we had, you could see some emergency numbers that you have to call. Take, for example, you are a commuter. If you feel that the driver is not driving the way you like, you can call. But these days, we don't have them, you know, on these vehicles. So what is happening?
Yeah, of course, you look well. Most of the companies are putting it on their boots, on the vehicle's boots. It's always there. Any passenger or anybody that is traveling, you have inquiring number. You see so many companies, at least almost all companies in Nigeria. When you are driving behind them, you see it at the boot of the vehicle. It's always stated that the phone numbers of the company, those who are attending to customers. Therefore, even when the vehicle got spoiled on the highway, they called most of the numbers. Some passengers also called. My number is always there. Some passengers also called me and complain, or call my managers and complain. So whatever the complaint they lays, when you have the numbers on the back of the boot of the vehicle, they will just call you immediately. Even when the driver is misbehaving or driving it off on the highway, they call. And I know that most transport companies in Benin does that. I always see their numbers at the back of their vehicles, and it's very, very good. To those that are not doing it, I will encourage them to be doing it, because they will give them more information. The company will know what is going on with their vehicles on the highway. It is the passenger that is inside the vehicle that will give you more information about what is going on with the driver on the highway.
All right. Now, Mr. Abraham, let's look at the Ember mods properly, though we are not there now, but very close. So you want to let us have one or two information about your preparation so far for this Ember month.
I think
because I do know before now you have lectures here and there. You go to motor parks, you go to garages where you have transporters. You know, you lecture them, and even at times to other road users too.
Yeah, you're correct. But before we talk about Ember month, I think we have a celebration that is very close to us.
Yeah.
Talking about a celebration by our Muslim faithful, and that is the Salah, that is very close to us.
Yeah.
I think we should first of all concentrate on these. Like you rightly pointed out, the commercial federal safety, Dr. Boboyemi, was on air the other time via his the core public relation officer, BC Kazim, and he talked about how prepared federal safety is in ensuring that the road is safe for motorists during this period. He went out to say that 33,000 personnel have been deployed, and 200 mobile cords will be organized in strategic places, and power bikes and tow truck have also been made available to ensure that the road is safe for the road users. And the concentration is on how best the road could be engaged. We are concentrating on the excessive speed, and also the use of forward driving, the seatbelt violation, and most importantly,
what do you mean by forward driving?
the use of forward driving. Picking up a call when your phone rings when you were driving. We're completely against it, like you know. And the emphasis is on one, traffic control and clearing of obstruction, and that is why tow trucks have been made available to ensure that the road is free of any form of obstruction. So we are well prepared. Personnel have been deployed, like you are aware of, on critical corridors that accidents normally occur. So this Salah Federal Safety Corps is 100% prepared to ensure that Muslim faithful who want to travel from one point to the other to celebrate with their family use the road without any form of threat when it has to do with road traffic crash. So when this one is over, then we will now start making much noise on Ember month. We're still very close to it. We've not entered Ember month. So as it is, the strategies are in place to ensure that the road is safe for people who want to ply the road during this period of Salah celebration. And then we are also making preparation ahead of Ember month. We're going to make so much noise about it. This is our period where is the period where most of our personnel are seen on the road to ensure that people who travel from point A to B get to their various destination peacefully without any form of threat that has to do with road traffic.
Okay, let us look at some other people that perhaps I may call quasi traffic law enforcement agents. We Take for example the ETSMA, which we're told is going to be reformed in Edo State. Now, do you work with them?
Of course, of course. I think the other one that was crashed before, we were working hand in hand with them. It's all about safety. What we do is to ensure that the road is safe for people to use. And I think that is one of their functions. Theirs is to ensure that the road is, safe for people to, use, and to ensure that if there is a crash, they will also be there to ensure they do their best. They are going to be trained. They are going to be exposed to the techniques and the strategies involved in handling accident scenes and all that. So
who trains them?
Federal safety, of course. Okay. Federal safety, of course. We, like you can remember when what is popularly called Oshomole bus came into existence. Most of the drivers were trained by federal safety personnel. We trained them, and then you can see how professional they are today. So we are also involved in training these personnel to ensure that they work hand in hand with us to ensuring that the road is safe for motorists. So we are waiting, and then by the time they come on board, we work with them. Of course, yeah, there's no problem with that. The most important thing is when they come on board, we are going to ensure that people who are motorists who are recalcitrant, who wouldn't want to obey traffic laws, handled with a high level of professionalism. So we are going to collaborate with them. We are looking forward to seeing them and working with them. Okay.
Now, Mr. Festus Agmonifo, let's look at how current and perhaps recently you send your drivers for training, because at times the way, I'm not going to question the way you employ your drivers, but it is alleged that what some major transporters do is that so long as the driver comes up with a driver's license, whether he has a proper training or not, is really no care. So do you often send your drivers to trainings with the Frsc?
Of course we do. They always train our drivers and our managers, safety managers and personnel managers. Easy to confirm that. I think last month we also sent them, and often we always send them for training through the safety commission. They always go for maybe like 3 days, 4 days trainings. But I will also do our trainings by ourselves, by enlightening the drivers that it is when you go and come back that people will say welcome. We actually let them know that it is not by overspeeding. What actually killed drivers getting accident or getting crashes is overspeeding. By the time a driver is very, very careful and careful of the other man at the front and the back, the accidents or crashes won't happen.
Yeah, what about the vehicles too? The vehicle can also be a causative thing that causes accidents.
How? If your vehicles are well fixed on the road.
That's if. You just said if.
Yeah, if at least most of the transporters apply Lagos Highway, that is the most things we do. We spend money every day to make sure the vehicle is well fixed on the road, especially the use of side mirrors. I thought about that by saying maybe I will meet with road safety. A lot of our Nigerian drivers does not use our side mirrors. And these are one of those things that actually cause crashes on the highway. If you get a driving license I keep saying outside this country, Nigeria will just believe you can just buy a car today, jump into it tomorrow and start driving. You look at somebody, I was driving along Supply Road last 2 weeks. On my lane, a lady came, just drove from her own lane. Nobody was in her front, nobody was in her back. She drove and entered my front suddenly. And that time was raining. When I came out of my vehicle was damaged in the front bumper. I looked at her, she was just leaning down inside the rain. And I jumped into my car and drove off. If it's a country that is that people is being checkmate before you take your vehicle to the street, this kind of things will not happen.
Okay.
Well, we are not checkmating our drivers. Anybody can just, your brother can just, or your husband can send you a vehicle from abroad. You just go to licensing office, put a plate number, jump into it, just put that red L say, learner. Many of them don't even know any signs of the road. They don't even know how to drive. They just put learner. And that is her first day of driving. Nobody have taught her how to drive. She doesn't even have a driving license. She will just put a learner.
Okay. Now, as we make preparation to wrap it up today, Mr. Abraham, what is your safety tip, for motorists this Ember period, as we approach the Ember period?
Okay. The concentration this period is the drivers should be lane disciplined. They should avoid driving against traffic, route violation, because we have observed that most of them, drive against traffic. And we are also, telling them that they should be conscious of their seat belt, and then don't be involved in excessive speed. And ensure when your phone rings and you're driving, it is better for you to miss a call than to lose your life.
Exactly.
If your phone rings and you're driving, look for a safe place, pull over, receive your call. And if the place is not safe, continue driving. When you get to your destination, you can return your call. I always tell them that when you are driving, driving requires 100% concentration. And once your phone rings and you pick, calls comes in different ways, or in two ways. It's either the message is positive or negative. Exactly. And there are so many of them who don't have that level of shock observing. They don't have a shock observer in receiving messages. Some of them, and there are some people who want to pass message across, even if the message is negative, they will just pass it to you like that. Imagine a driver who is driving and a phone rings and he picks, and only for him to receive a call, your daughter who is in school fell from upstairs and his legs are broken and all that. And that man will lose concentration. He will lose concentration, and then once a driver loses concentration, within a twinkle of an eye, a crash can occur. So,
exactly.
When your phone rings and you're driving, please don't pick the call.
Okay.
Be lane disciplined. Avoid dangerous overtaking and avoid wrong driving. And most importantly, don't be involved in the use of illicit drug or use of alcohol while driving. If you must drink, don't drive. And if you must drive, don't drink. Stay normal. Drive to your destination. Remember, we always tell them, driving is not competition. Drive to save lives. That's the most important thing. You're not competing with any person. That is the message.
And Mr. Festus, you concur with him?
Of course, it's better for you to drink and don't drive.
Okay.
And what we see these days, most of our drivers are using this what they call Indian hand. They will just take this is what they call Indian hand. They will take it. They say make them feel higher, make them to see clearly. And I will use this media to urge all drivers listening to me right now. Don't smoke Indian hemp and drive, especially when you are driving to Lagos. The road to Lagos is not 1 hour journey. It's not 2 hours journey. It's not 3 hours journey even. There's no driver that can drive Lagos as the road is today with 3 hours. It is those days, early 2000, when the road was very, very good. You can drive Lagos with 3 hours. But today, I tell you, 4 hours. What I always tell my drivers, drive Lagos 4 hours, 30 minutes. Relax, park that vehicle, the following day you can drive back to Benin. And most of the drivers you are seeing today, 60% of drivers you are seeing today on the highway, take Indian hand. I want various company and
at the end of Mr. Festus,
yes.
Since you know this, because from what you said now, it's possible that you may have seen it. Now, what measures do you people take?
We monitor them. We monitor them. We make sure when a driver comes, anybody that takes India and comes to me, I got his man.
So what sanctions do you place on them? Do you?
Yeah, you suspend. That kind of a driver, you suspend them for maybe a week or 2 weeks.
But don't you think that is not enough? I mean, taking off drug, it's illegal.
Yes.
Do you take such people to law enforcement agents?
Let me tell you something.
Because you know that these drivers, they have lives of passengers in their hands.
Exactly. Today, when you take your driver to, that's why I said, for us to make Nigeria a better place, every citizens of Nigeria have a role to play in this country. When you take your driver because of smoking, go to Ubo police station or Okoro or wherever, any of the police station around, what do you think that the DP will call you? Will you think that the DP will call you, oh, you are a good man? They will just tell you it's normal. They are listening to me now.
No, that may not. No, Mr. Frsc.
I know what I'm saying.
That may not.
They will tell you it's not a crime. No, you take a driver because of smoking Indian hemp to station.
No, that may not be true.
People might think that you're not normal.
No, that may not be true. Have you done it?
No, I've not done it, but I don't think
that may not be true.
Even there are better cases that you take your driver. See, your driver will just drink and drive, and at the end of the day, crash maybe somebody's vehicle at the way. You take that driver to police station. The police will even tell you that you don't even know. You don't even have a work to do.
No, that may not be true.
I'm telling you, I've tried it.
Have you tried it?
I'm telling you,
talking from experience?
I will call you one of these days to tell you I've tried it, because there's nothing like Mr. Evans. There's nothing we've not seen in this business of transport. There's nothing we've not seen. We've seen a lot of cases whereby your driver will drink and drive and crash somebody's vehicle, maybe a little crash, and whatever is the liability will be put back to the company. I have a case now in court whereby my driver jammed a lawyer.
Yeah, hits a lawyer's
hits a lawyer.
Okay.
And the lawyer is asking him to give him 5 million naira. I've been begging that lawyer for more than 5 years now. We've been in court for more than 5 years to take 1 million for compensation.
Yeah.
Because he's a lawyer, and the judges are behind the lawyer. What the people will always say, it can't be better. There's no way a lawyer, a judge will say this lawyer is wrong, or a lawyer will say a judge is wrong. This is the country we are today.
No, but you just said yes. it was your driver that hits the lawyer.
Yes.
So the lawyer is demanding.
It was when they were doing the Sapele Road. The Sapele Road, when the Shomole was expanding it.
Okay.
They make every way one way. One track was one way. Why the other side was one way? They were working on the other side.
The lawyer
didn't look well, and I don't want to mention his name. He entered. He's saying it today. He entered if the matter is prolonging,
the lawyer
even the judge knows what is happening.
Yeah, but the lawyer was
the judge knows what happened.
Mr. Was he a pedestrian at that moment? Was he trekking? Was he walking?
No, the lawyer just left a pharmacist. I think the daughter was sick in the hospital. That is why we always also advise a pedestrian. People who are also crossing the road, you also have to be careful.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking. Was he trekking? Was he walking?
Yes, he wanted to cross the Sapele Road from the other.
Your driver that hits the.
Yeah, but the driver was coming from Warri Aziz.
Okay.
He was coming from Warri Aziz.
Yeah.
The driver was crossing to area command area. Then on one way, the lawyer didn't know that side is one way now. He just jumped into.
So your driver hits him.
And the driver, before the driver knows, it was already close to him.
We're not to pass judgment
so
on this.
What I'm trying to say is that even those who are even using legs to cross the road should also be careful. You look at what happened in Upper Sekpamba last week. Even if the driver, as we were told, different kind of news we heard about that accident, even if the driver was restless, some passengers would never talk to their driver. When I've not opened a transport company, if I enter the bus those days to Lagos, even if I don't have enough, I will tell the driver, you can drop me on the way. I've done it like 2 times. Those days where I've not gotten my transport company, I did it like 2 times. Because life does not have 2 ways of passing it. It does not have duplicates. When it happens, and you are normal. That is why a man needs to be very, very careful. That is what I always tell my drivers. You are passing through this life just once. Therefore, you have to be very careful on the road. Just like when I was coming just now, a white bus loaded, I think it's those buses that go to Ore. Look at the way it was trying to overtake me. How can your vehicle is even more than 20 years? Even more than 20 years. And you want to overtake a vehicle that is about 2 years, 3 years. How can you run with a vehicle that is like 2 years, 3 years on the road? A vehicle, a 20 years old man and a 90 years old man want to run with a 18 years old boy.
Yeah, so
you can see the difference between these two analyses.
All right, now
so
before we finally really wrap it up on this segment, now Mr. Abraham, there is an allegation that your rank and file, that is the junior staff now, the junior personnel, are often the ones that do the job, and at times, even when the requirements of the job necessitates the top ranking officers, that this rank and file are being set. So don't you think that that also affects your job?
If I got your question correctly, I don't think the responsibility that should be handled by an officer should be given to a marshal. There's what we call job specification. For every rank, there is a responsibility. For every rank, there is an assignment. The assignment that an officer can handle, a marshal cannot handle it. So if there is anything you have observed, probably you should come up to, make it clearer. But as long as Federal Road Safety Corps is concerned, responsibilities are given based on rank. No matter how good you are as a marshal, you cannot be asked to head a unit.
No, we're not talking about heading units now. Okay. We're talking about, say for example, doing the normal traffic walk.
Okay.
Going through traffic routines and all that.
Okay.
So does it fall within the purview of the lesser officer to do that?
The way we carry out our job function, especially patrol. If we are on patrol, we have 2 arresting marshal, the rank and file, okay, and a driver and an officer. Could be a 1-star officer or 2-star officer or 3-star officer, as the case may be. But sometimes we could also have a senior marshal, a senior rank and file. You see, there are some of these marshals who are HND holders. This issue of dichotomy between BSc and HND holders. There are so many marshals who are HND holders. You might look at them, you might not say 1-star or 2-star, they are shoulder, but they have their bar. They are high rank marshal. So they are well trained because they are also graduates, HND. If you are HND holder, you agree with me that you would have been exposed educationally. So they are, scheduled with the responsibility of leading a team. But those who are not HND holders, probably are ND or school sat, they are the ones that are responsible for flagging down vehicles. And whenever they discover traffic offense, they hand over the citizen, we call the citizen, to the team leader who does his work. And also traffic control. Most of these rank and file are usually used for traffic control.
Yeah, so that's the question. At that point, don't you think that you guys should need more educated ones? Because that's where the complaints and the problems come in. You have complaints of how drivers are being addressed, how they are being attended to and all that. Judging by the fact that some of these officers that attend to them may not be educationally exposed as, like the top officers.
The truth is this. In the way Federal Road Safety is structured, not even only Federal Road Safety, all uniform formation, we have those who are educated, as in a graduate, and we have secondary school holders. And a secondary school holder cannot be on the road to carry out any function without being supervised by an educated person.
Okay.
If you are on the road as a marshal, you have your boss who is a graduate, who supervises your activity, who supervises and monitors your SSs. If you are talking to a driver, you're bullying a driver, which is normal in every formation, it is the responsibility of the team leader to caution such a marshal or rank and file and addresses the situation. We've seen cases where motorists, a driver will be so insultive to our arresting marshal because they are the first contact. They are the one that stop the vehicle first. They have first hand information from the motorist and all that. If we discover that they are exchanging words, the team leader walks to the scene and take over the case and ensure that peace and tranquility is maintained.
Okay. All right. A very big thank you to Mr. Festus Monifu and extend handshake to Mr. Abraham there.
Thank you so much.
And, the Ember month is very, very close. About less than 48 hours to go. And I think there's really no cause for alarm. Now, these worries at times come from the fact that right from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and all of a sudden you realize that this is September. Now all that you have not achieved throughout the whole year, you want to achieve everything. But better still, we must know that September is something that comes on and off. It comes every 365 days. So there's really no need for worry. So that we'll have a peaceful traffic system during the Ember period. My name is Aaron Zunokoge. We'll take a short pause now so that other segments will come your way. Stay tuned.